A lot of people, my name is Michelle. This is going to be actually my first video doing on embroidery and things like that. And I am really, really new to this industry, like since just the ending of last year. Very, very new. I've only made a couple sales so far. However, I'm one of those people who like to practice and perfect the things that I'm doing. And with embroidery, it has taught me you're never going to perfect anything. You're going to get better at it, but you're never going to perfect it, right? Like there's always going to be something that you need to know, something that you always learn, things like that. So when I got my machine, I actually upgraded. I didn't upgrade. I actually bought an additional machine from the PE800 to the Janome MB7, which is a single head 7 needle machine. And going from the PE800 to the MB7, oh my God, when it got to me, I was so intimidated by that machine. The reason why I don't have this machine, one, I'm filming in another area of my house, and then two, that machine actually had to go to the shop because of something I did. In another video, I'm going to tell you what I did, and hopefully, I can offer people some help on little things that can go wrong with the MB7, things that you might want to know. So, here's the thing I picked the MB7. I bought it from a person, a dealer outside of California. I live in California, so I bought this from a dealer in Texas. And very nice. They're very, very nice people. But I'm gonna tell you, would I buy the Janome MB7 again? I don't know. I probably would. Would I pick a second Janome? Probably not. And it's not that that machine isn't good, because it is. When I took it to get it serviced, let me tell you, they were just like, your machine is top of the line. And they actually put a video of it and put it on their page. So I'm going to tell you about the MB7. I ran into, when you purchase, and this is for any machine, I just want to tell you, if you're new to embroidery and you're upgrading, a couple of things that you need to look at that I have faced, and the challenges that I have faced are that, one, you need to find out if your local dealers or local repair shops that service machines can actually service your more than one needle machine. You really, really need to check, because that is something I didn't know. It's not something that people really talk about. But I bought the Janome MB7 from a dealer, again, like I said, in Texas, and I'm here in California. When you're buying it, you get a great deal. I didn't want to pay taxes, like it was just going to push me a little bit over my budget. And then when you get it shipped, whatever, they give you free shipping, and they tell you, if anything goes wrong, we'll cover it, da 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 da. You have all that. So I'm like, great. I don't have to worry about my machine. What I was not aware of and didn't realize at the time is that I'm in California, they're in Texas. And in order for them to get my machine, I have to ship my machine to them, and I have to pay for the shipping back. That's expensive. That machine is probably, I think, 50, 60 something pounds. That machine is heavy, okay? So that's one thing you should look for is your dealer, are you do you have someone locally to repair your machine? Because the number one thing that happened to me is that my machine actually was having problems, and I didn't know if it was me, and I assumed it was because big operator error, or if it was the machine. It finally got to a point that my machine wasn't running at all. It stopped picking up the bobbin thread, so I ended up having to look for a repair shop. And I called like 7 or 8 repair shops before I found one that actually could service the machine, because they didn't they don't service multi-needle machines. They don't know how to deal with it. They're like, we literally deal with the single head, single needle. So that's one thing I'm going to tell you to make sure you actually look for is, can you get your machine serviced when you need to? The drawback to that is, when I bought my machine, they cover the warrant, they cover the servicing of the machine. But if I don't get it from them, then I'm straight out of luck. I had to pay for the service out of my pocket. Next, you need to make sure that the people you're buying it from have great customer service. And when I say that, like, you can call them and get service for your machine, get questions answered. And Ken Sewing Center, this is in Texas, is very good with that. They actually can answer questions and kind of figure out what's going on with your machine. They were really, really nice. but I needed my machine now, and I wasn't going to pay shipping to and from when that was going to be super expensive. So make sure you find someone that can service your machine. Make sure they're a certified dealer. I will tell you, when I started looking for this, I went on Janome's website. They had a list of dealers that they actually backed, and confirmed like they were people who could work on the machines. And just because you see that list doesn't mean that everybody works with your machine. Just because you see something that says Janome or Singer Brother, whatever, doesn't mean that they can service your machine. So before you pick a machine, these are the things that you really need to look for and understand, because I ran into a huge problem and I was so frustrated with trying to get my machine serviced. Next, with my Janome, one thing that people do not talk about on the Janome enough, well, the one thing about Janome, the machine itself, is I will advise you to look for a machine that have a lot, moderate to a lot of people who are talking about it, people who discuss it, people that know about it, people that have talked about it on YouTube, on Instagram, wherever that is. Just make sure when you pick a machine that is a fairly a very, not common, but a machine that people do talk about. Now, I didn't know this before I bought my machine. I was no clue, but I'm telling you, to save yourself frustration, try and find a machine that people actually are commonly using. And it's not to say that the machine that you choose isn't good. It's just that when you want to go to university for your machine on YouTube, there's not enough people talking about it. And my Janome MB7, there is not a lot of people that talk about the MB7. And what I did was I looked up Janome. I did look up Janome, and I sent MB. It was an MB4, a few MB7, but this was after this was after the fact. I did reviews on the MB7 as far as checking it, and they did have fairly good reviews when you look at the machine itself. But when you buy your machine, make sure that either, if you don't find a lot of reviews, you're okay with learning yourself, because a lot of things that I discuss about the MB7, people don't discuss. I seen a lot, even now, today, as of today, before I started this video, there's not a lot. There's a few people who talk about unboxing the Janome MB7, threading the MB7, but not the nitty gritty of Janome. So for me, I'm sorry, I talk a lot with my hands. I apologize. So for me, the Janome MB7, there wasn't a lot of people doing videos, and I was very, very super frustrated. And the Janome MB4 and the MB4S and the Janome MB7 kind of are similar, but not quite. I will tell you that if I had to do it again, I probably would have picked the 4-needle MB4 or MB4S as opposed to the Janome MB7, if I would have known that I should have looked for university videos, right, on YouTube. So before you buy your machine, when you do your research, make sure that that's what you see. If you're okay with not finding a lot of information on it, then it's fine. But I'm with my machine now. Like, I love my baby. I wrote on someone messaged me because I made a comment on a YouTube video. I made a comment, and they're like, I said, I pretty much almost hate my machine. And a few months later, someone said, hey, how do you feel about your machine now? And there were a couple questions that had gone very much unanswered, but because I've been working with my MB7, I've worked out some kinks. And I say that the Janome MB7 is like a relationship. You got to learn to love the person that you with for their quirks and the things that make you mad. If you could get over that, then you're going to be in a good relationship. And that is how I feel really pretty much about this MB7. The MB7 is definitely it's a good machine. It runs well, but that machine likes to be coddled. Like, you literally have to coddle the machine until you learn the ins and outs of this machine. So if you're looking for the MB7, I will say that it is a good machine. However, you do need to learn your machine. And I try to stitch every single day, something every single day. Doesn't always work out that way because I work nights, and so that can be a challenge, especially if I'm working back to back days. But I stitch with not having orders. I find something, I stitch it. I want to learn about my machine. I want to see what's happening. I've learned so many things about this machine, so I'm going to continually do videos on my progress actually in the embroidery industry and on the Janome MB7 itself. Have I looked at other machines? Yes, I do. I am slowly putting change away to get a bigger machine eventually, but not right now. I still have a lot to learn in MB7. So if you are looking at the MB7, I will tell you to get it, but these are the things that you need to watch out for before purchase. Now I'm going to tell you some things in another video about after you purchase and what you probably will run into. So one thing, find a local dealer that can deal with the machine and ask them, can they work on the machine? Tell them what it is. Make sure you specify the needles, because I called quite a few places and I was like, can you work on the Janome MB7? Oh, yes, yes, yes. Bring it in, bring it in. I went to one facility, took it in. They were like, oh, I didn't hear you say MB. I heard you say M7. Okay, no problem. So I called a few more places and they were like, oh yeah, I think I could work on it. No, sir. No, ma'am. No, sir. I spent a lot of money on this machine. I don't want to, I think I could work on it. I want to know that you could work on my machine. Finally, the last person that I talked to took the machine and we have a great relationship. So I'll be taking that machine there all the time. So I'm going to do another video. My video is probably going to be about 10 minutes average because it's a lot of ground to cover. So I'm going to tell you, you definitely should purchase the MB7, but I'm going to tell you some of the challenges that I ran into because of it. Even repairmen will tell you where I go to, and they've been in service, I want to say something like 30 years, 25, 30 years. They have said the Janome is good. It's the top of the line. It's a good brand. And I'm going to tell you about my machine purchase, okay?